Welcome to my review of Express Raider for the Commodore 64. And this is basically a simple arcade-style game, but it's a really good one for the Commodore 64. I mean, I've played some mostly shitty games on the machine, so I've been experimenting a little bit with Commodore on the emulation machine. So I've been fucking around with some games, looking for some easy kills, and this was one of the easier ones. And I've just been trying out some games in general. I recently beat a game called Hunchback on the system, and that game was a very shitty game, which I also reviewed. And I believe that took around 4 hours to beat because it was such a bad game. But this was actually quite a good game. This took around 39 minutes to beat, I believe. And this game only has two different types of stages. You have your side-scrolling stage where you have to hijack these train carts and make it to the last train cart, and then you just have a shooting stage that's kind of like in the Operation Wolf style, which you'll see after this. And there's only those two different types of stages, and that's it. But there's 8 stages total before the game moves back to the first stage, and you will get an ending after completing those 8 stages. You get a brief ending. And the stages will get harder, each stage will get a little bit harder than the last. But they never get that difficult. You can pull a lot of bullshit by, spamming jump kicks and certain attacks. You usually can spam one attack on an enemy. You just have to find which one works the best. So it never gets too complicated. And when you get to the last train car, you beat that stage. You get about 4 or 5 lives per stage. And if you lose those lives, you will have to start back at the beginning of the stage, but you have unlimited continues. So eventually you should be able to beat the game pretty easily. I also will post a link to the tutorial I made for the game, which has commentary and breaks down exactly what I did. Though it's a very simple game, I don't think too many people have much trouble completing this. So this is the second type of stage and the last stage type. And it's a decent little, shooting kind of gallery stage. It plays decently. The hit detection is a little bit off, though. A lot of times your shots will explode on the enemy, but they won't damage the enemy. So it's a little inconsistent. But it's decent enough. I mean, I've played much sloppier games on the system, so it's a small issue with the game. And yeah, it's one of the better games for these type of simple old arcade games. It's pretty solid. And what you see here, it doesn't go beyond that. I mean, this is pretty much the game. It just gets progressively harder. But there's really, if you don't like what you see, then you're not going to like the game, that's for sure, because this is all the game is. It just gets progressively harder each time. And this is one of the last stages, so this is, pretty much as hard as it gets. So, like you'll see, it's not a very challenging game. You do have to play well. But if you lose a life, it saves your progress for the stage. So if you killed 3 guys, those guys are going to be dead when you respawn on your life. If you lose all your lives, you do have to start the stage over. But with 4 or 5 lives on each stage, and the fact that it saves the enemies you killed, it's pretty easy to get through this. You'll see at the top in the middle is the count of how many enemies you have to defeat before the section ends and you go to the next train car. And then the upper right is your lives. And it is one-hit deaths on the shooting stages. The other stages, the side-scrolling stages, have a tug-of-war type of health system where if you strike the enemy, you get health back. If they hit you, it takes your health. It's a very strange health system. And it makes those stages, very easy. Because it's not one-hit death. If it was, it would be a little tricky. So that's it for this game. I would give this game a 6.5 out of 10. I think it's a pretty decent game. It's more in the, in the fair range, you know what I mean? Not quite what I would call a good game, but it's pretty good. If you have any questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.